Hey everyone, in the past I said I was going to do a video where I broke this giant Jetbug MOC because it was an experiment. I was seeing if I was going to do a 2.0 Reimagined series, and if you don't know what that was, it was where I was going to make every single 2.0 MOC in my own style, or 2.0 set in my own style, and this was a test. I was trying to make a giant Jetbug, but it didn't really turn out how I wanted it to. This is 100% a display MOC. It actually took me a second to get him in this pose because he's not very poseable and he is super heavy. So I'm going to do a video where I'm breaking him. So this is going to be one take. So if I misspeak or anything, that's going to just be too bad because I'm not going to be able to put him back together. So I'm going to take off his legs and I guess take off his arms too. I feel like that's going to be kind of hard because they're using those super stiff Bionicle pieces, connectors, that they're loose, but you literally cannot pull them off without breaking something. I love those pieces a lot, but they can be frustrating to work with. So I guess we'll start off with the body. That's probably what people are going to be most interested in anyway. So let me try to actually fix this real quick. So if I remember right, the body took up the majority of the build time. So I really like how the body looks. So it's curved, it's on a preset Technic piece. And so that's why he has this hunch, which works well for this type of villain, but also it does not work well with 3-jointed legs. And why that is because how this 3-jointed leg works is, for one thing, it's super detailed, so it doesn't have as much posability as it should. So that's as far forward as it goes, and this is as far back as the 3rd joint goes. So to stand him up straight, this is as straight as it goes. And so with a curved body like this, you have to manually use this upper part to put his body back. So it can kind of look weird because his body, or his legs, are straight and his body is super far back. And that's just to get him looking straight. If you have him all the way hunched over, he'll just fall. The legs, what I'm trying to say is the legs have barely any posability. I wasn't wording that the best though. I probably confused most of you more than explained what I'm talking about. But also the body is very heavy and the feet were also experimental. They don't look very good, and also they don't hold his weight very well. So I like all the detailing and everything, but let's actually start ripping him apart. Probably going to save the Jetbug head though. I really like how that looks. These chains actually had to be switched out. They used to be that trans orange color, but I had to switch them out for the stop motion. And these Jetbug heads were cool, and it's kind of funny having his own heads used for detailing, but those need to come off now. There's some random wiring, because the fire villains from 2.0 were random in some places. That was intentional on the designer's parts, of course, but so I tried to keep that random look going into this build. Looks like we just lost a jet. Yeah, he's not going to be flying for a while. So the jet design is pretty cool. It's a really big jet design. Also, I don't think it would work because they're both... Well, I mean, it might work, but they can't really move much. That's about all he can do. I feel like he would probably have to have some jets maybe on his feet and hands to help direct himself. But I think the jet design looks pretty cool. But it's time to take those off. They were a little bit unstable because they're connected by 2 ball joints, and ball joints can be loose, and so you can have them pop out. But the design is simple, actually. I do think it looks cool though. I might have to remember this design. I'll take all the armor plates off so I can see exactly how I designed it. And keep in mind, this build, I built this MOC probably 6 months ago, so I don't remember most of this stuff myself. But yeah, this is a decent design. So let's keep destroying the body a little more. I used another chain down there. There's a lot of Lego pieces used in this build, which I like to do that on big MOCs because you can really cover up some unfortunate areas. Like, some areas are almost impossible to cover up with Bionicle pieces exclusively, so you have to throw in Lego pieces. That's what I learned a long time ago. And at one point I was building my MOCs with too many Lego pieces, and so I had to convert back to using primarily Hero Factory and Bionicle pieces. I really like this chest plate piece that came from 2016 wave of Bionicle, I believe. Might have to fact check that later. Then here's a Rakshi head. That worked nicely covering up the back. It's actually cool how that's connected in there. Because the Rakshi heads are so movable, I just put this barrel piece on a swivel, and so you can just connect it at any point pretty much throughout its swivel. And then it has a little bit of sway in there, but that's fine because if you bump it or anything, it has a little bit of give, so that won't damage any pieces. Then let's get more of these armor plates off. Sometimes it's risky breaking MOCs like this because I've actually broken pieces before because I'm like, oh yeah, that's only connected in one place, and it was connected in two, and I just pulled and broke something. So you have to make sure, oh, that's not gonna happen. You have to make sure what you're trying to yank off isn't connected in multiple places. I should have broken more pieces though in the past, and like when I was a kid I broke a ton, but multiple times I've been just pulling on something and I'm like, why won't that come out? And then you see it's connected in multiple places. MOCs are very complex, and so you have to watch what you're doing. I really like this body though. It looks good, it's covered up nicely, and it is stable. There's not really any movement in there, so that's a good thing. I'm not going to be able to pull that off. That's connected by one of the strongest Technic pieces there is. That piece, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll probably get that. These pieces are incredibly strong, and I don't know why it is. It might be because they're not used very often, but I think they should. You need a specialized piece to get Technics off. And they have brick separators, but those don't help with Bionicle pieces much. This looks really dumb, but I've done this before, well, and gotten pieces off, but I didn't know half the video was going to be pulling this off. There we go. Yeah, I like using these pieces because they're very useful, but whenever you're pulling a MOC apart, they can be a pain. And then that was pretty cool. I used a standard Bionicle headpiece to actually connect Jetbug's head. That looks cool. And you see a little bit of the trans orange too whenever he was complete. Man, that is a very good foot piece. I need to put that aside. And yeah, I can pull that off. Yeah, so as you can see, this guy had quite a few pieces. Yeah, just making sure. So I'm not sure if there's anything I can comment about. Maybe pretty soon I'll probably be able to say something about the thought process behind the build, but I am having to relearn some of this stuff. Right now I'm just showing you what the body looks like though without all the pieces on. This might be educational to some of you, but it's mainly just a documentation of how he was built. I kind of want to be able to look back and see what I did right and what I did wrong. So this video is just as much for me in the future as it is for the viewers. Okay. This MOC took a long time too, if I remember correctly. I think it was probably a 6-hour build. MOC building can take forever, especially if you're trying something new, which I kind of was with this build, but I'm used to using this pre-built piece. But this piece can sometimes be hard to use because sometimes you have to attach things at an odd angle, and Sometimes it's even hard to add detailing over a piece like this. We're pretty much down to the base level. So I don't think I'm gonna take this apart any more than it already is. I think you can see how everything is attached, but this is the basics of the build. Here's where everything stems. Here's what everything stems off of. So now we can move to the legs. So let's take the lower leg off. This is pretty simple, very, very simple stuff. Use the standard Hero Factory bones, as people call them. Then I really like these jet pieces. I'm not sure if you can tell. I only used, I think 6 of them in this build. But those are one of my favorite Bionicle pieces. And I didn't grow up on Bionicle. I grew up on Hero Factory. And so once I got some of those really cool Bionicle pieces, they're all I used. And probably should just take the foot apart. I was trying to imitate the 3-called foot piece from Hero Factory with this foot design. I don't have one on me, but if you know what piece I'm talking about, it was used on Jetbug and many others. It was used on Fangs for his front feet, or his front paws, I guess you would say, since he's a dog. But it does kind of imitate that piece, but it was an experimental foot, and so I didn't enclose it like I wanted to. And also, it's not the most stable for as heavy of a MOC as Jetbug. But it is well built. It's not unstable. I like building custom feet, but of all the things to build, it is my least favorite thing to build. But I do like building them sometimes to see how good of a foot I can build and how sturdy. We're only going to destroy one leg and one arm. That's pretty much the base level of the lower leg. So you can see how everything went together. That's the base of the foot. You could probably build this MOC off this video, possibly, if you're watching closely enough, or get it pretty close. But I wouldn't recommend trying to build this MOC because of all the weird detailing or detailed parts and stuff. This is kind of a messy MOC. It uses a lot of techniques I would not condone, because a lot of the techniques were loose, where they're not connected super well. Mainly stuff like that on the legs. I can show you what I mean. Like, if you pick him up, you're probably immediately gonna knock that off. And this is surprisingly on there good right now, but those come off easily. So does this. And so this is what I mean by build techniques I would not condone. A lot of this stuff is falling off. That's kind of why I categorized it as a display MOC. Display MOCs can be notorious for touching them and they basically explode. But my MOC was not as good as most display MOCs. If you want to see good display MOCs, watch like Ben Cossey, the people, but theirs are probably more stable than mine. I'm not saying every display MOC is that way, but usually a display MOC is covered in details, and you might not even be able to see a ball joint, and they look beautiful. I'm not good at building stuff like that. This was kind of my attempt at that, but I would hope if I attempted it again, I would actually make a good looking product. But yeah, there's a lot of cool details on this MOC, but a lot of things fall off easily. So this is basically all that I'm going to take apart of the legs. I think you can probably see the frame good enough now. So let's move on to the arms. I only ever completed one arm because I would have sworn I had 2 of the Huki heads. I believe that's what this guy's name is. But I searched for probably 30 minutes and could not find the second one. So I'm just going to take apart this fully put together arm. I like this arm design. I think it looks pretty cool. I like the hand design especially. That's my own hand design. I came up with this. I'll show it to you. I was proud of it back in the day whenever I first came up with it. but it allows you to have 3 fingers and a thumb, and one of the thumb just took a spill, so I'm not going to be able to pick it up. But I used 8 of these silver Nitroblast eyes. I call them Nitroblast eyes, but y'all would probably call them Baraki eyes, most likely, if you're a Bionicle fan. But you can see the basis for this hand piece. It looks pretty cool. And let's get back to showing the arm. It's a simple arm design, if I remember correctly. Let's take this off. And this. Sounded like I broke something, but I didn't. But yeah, that's a simple forearm design. That looks pretty good, though. It's closed up pretty nicely, I would say. It's apparently stable. Yeah, a lot of black Technic pieces used in that build. And then this upper arm... Okay, I should have probably shown you how that goes on. I think it had this capping it off. There's a piece right there, but I don't know where it went. But, oh yeah, it was this. So this was right there. And so you could connect it onto the body. So it had 2 ball joints. So you could actually rotate the arm like a human, because this is the bicep, and so you could rotate it. Unfortunately, it was, you couldn't completely rotate it because of the body interfered, but his arm was actually very close to rotating exactly like a human. And then this ball joint, you could rotate it like the shoulder, but there wouldn't have been quite as much movement as an actual person because pieces would have gotten in the way. But yeah, that's pretty cool. There's another one of those jet pieces that I like. This is just a standard Bionicle bone piece, so this MOC kind of cheated in some regards. I used to consider it cheating whenever I was younger if I used a singular bone piece, except for on the neck of a MOC. I didn't consider this piece cheating, but I don't hold those standards now because these pieces are just like everything else. You can use them in clever ways and make them look very good. So if you can see that now, this is pretty much all of the pieces. There's a few on the ground, but I don't even know what my estimation would be here. Probably around 600 pieces maybe. But yeah, well, there he is, destroyed. I hope this is educational for at least somebody out there, and I might do another video like this on another MOC. Just tell me what you think in the comments. If you actually watched this far, I would be very impressed and thankful. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos.